I'm pondering.
Well, I think so, Brain, but me and Pippi Longstocking, I mean, what would the children look like?
No, Pinky. We have taken over this ballroom, and now, using our human personae, we shall entertain these people until they follow us and allow us to take over the world. So please say hello to Rob Paulson and Maurice LaMarche. Yes!
Which one is which? Oh, we got it right.
We even landed at the right seats. This is fantastic. How you doing, Atlanta?
I'm fine. How are you?
Oh, Atlanta elected you as their representative. That's wow. Oh, that's great. Wow. Well, we have no moderator, so we're going to be extreme.
Yeah.
We're going to answer all your questions about Pinky and the Brain, any other stuff. But we'd like to keep it to Pinky and the Brain because it is a Pinky and the Brain panel. But if you've got Ninja Turtles questions, I think we have one or two Ninja Turtles at our table here. And but yeah, we'd just be happy. We just want to say though that it's an incredible thrill to have worked on something 22 years ago. And just, knowing that while it wasn't just another job, it being almost inconceivable that 22 years later we would still be remembered by you folks and that we would be brought out to places like this and have you folks line up to just say hello and get an autograph. And it just touches me. I had one family say, you're our family time. We sit down and watch you. They watch the DVDs even now. It's like it's family night in front of the TV, watching wholesome and smart entertainment like Pinky and the Brain. So thank you so much for having us to your city.
Yes, they watch DVDs in their BVDs. You see what I did there?
Now, it really, echoing what Maurice said, we have had the good fortune of working together for many years, and this weekend, many of you, I'm sure, have been to sort of all of the events that have included Maurice and myself and Tress and Jess and Randy, and that was the first time all of us have worked together really since Animaniacs, and absolutely the first time that we've all been outside of Los Angeles together to do a con. Yeah. So you all made us feel so welcome. Really great. Really great, and it's just been a blast. So,
as my friend the Brain said, my voice is going a little bit weird, but that doesn't mean I don't have my big pink little heart every time I say Narf.
And I guess, I know there's a microphone. Is it right here, you guys?
Yep.
Is you can see? Okay. Yeah.
Feel free to line up at the mic if you've got Pinky and the Brain questions.
Yeah, that's probably the
go
best.
out in the hall if you have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles questions, and shout them from there.
No, this is as Mo was saying, this is probably the best use of your time because that's why we're here. And if you have questions, then we're here to have a great time and answer them, and that is going to be a lot better than us pontificating for the next hour.
Yeah.
So,
please fire away.
All right. Thanks for being here, everyone. I was at the Animaniacs panel last night, and with the Yakko's World song, it got me thinking. It was written so long ago that it was worth mentioning that now Germany is one country as opposed to two.
right.
And there are some countries like Czechoslovakia and Zaire that aren't even on the list anymore. They don't exist. Mm-hmm. With these somber thoughts in mind, what words of wisdom would you give to the people in this room or the people of the world?
With those somber, forgive me, but wisdom with respect to what? That there are fewer countries or more countries?
I guess things have changed since.
Are you saying that there might be more unifications like the United States of Canada?
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Well, I don't know. Were you here for the music thing on Friday?
No,
Oh,
I
because
missed that
Randy
one.
Rogel.
Yeah, I wish he was here.
Were any of you
for
here
that
for
one.
Friday?
That guy's.
Randy, who wrote that song and was here with us, as you know, also wrote a new ending. an updated ending.
An
in
extra
which-
verse.
An extra verse in which he includes Ivory Coast, Uzbekistan,
Nice.
Kazakhstan,
Okay.
Tajikistan, Macedonia, Andorra, all these places, Moldova, these places that have popped up since the dissolution of the Soviet Union. So he has, I think, addressed your question
Okay.
to that extent.
Yeah.
That's cool.
You know what's remarkable about that?
Yeah.
It just occurred to me, and I know that that's an Animaniacs related thing, but he wasn't on anybody's payroll when he wrote that extra verse.
No.
He just did that on his own time. It's like, he did that out of the love
Oh, yeah.
of what he did, because I know so many writers, they will not touch a keyboard unless, they won't spec. Unless there's an actual deal in place, they won't write. So
Yeah, it's pretty
remarkable.
cool. And Randy's just driven by a passion to do
Yeah,
the thing.
absolutely.
And actually, what is going to happen is when Brain and I take over the world, we're just going to call it Brainland. Everything.
Thank you.
Brainania.
Yeah.
We'll all be in Brainland. We'll all be Brainlanders.
Hey, buddy.
Hey,
Hi.
are you willing to do an in-character sort of exchange?
Am I willing to what?
Do an in-character exchange?
Oh, you mean
With
just
Pinky and
talk to each other like Pinky and the
Exchange?
Brain?
Yes.
You mean like exchange of bodily fluids? No, I don't think so. I've not had.
Pinky, I need your bile for this next experiment. I can concoct a potion.
I
that will
don't
allow
think so,
me
Brain. That sounds to me like a felony. And you haven't even given me dinner in a movie, Brain. I'm not going to exchange my precious bodily fluids with you for no money. What's the matter with you? What kind of a hooker do you think I am?
Actually, Pinky, it's only a misdemeanor, but misdemeanor isn't available tonight.
Yeah.
Check with the escort service.
So-
Anyway, what were you saying? You wanted an exchange?
A Pinky and the Brain exchange.
Yes.
We just did one.
Yes, you just did one. That will be all. Thank you.
I'm so sorry.
No, seriously. My real question is, do you remember what your reaction was when you were approached with the news that you were getting a spin-off from Animaniacs that's just Pinky and the Brain?
Oh, thrilled.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I remember. Peter Hastings was the one who sort of told us, it's looking like we're going to make this its own show. We had done the first half-hour episode as part of Animaniacs. It took up the whole Animaniacs half hour. Was
Win big.
no the one that took place in medieval England.
Oh, was that with a?
Come, my dragon,
Yes,
you
yes.
sleepy
I can't remember the name of the episode, but I remember saying to Peter, I said, "Wow, this is like an entire Animaniacs episode." And he goes, "Yeah, it's kind of a test case. Just just keep good thoughts." And that ended up being the sort of an unofficial pilot, and it became its own show. So we were just thrilled. And then when it turned out that it was going to be primetime, and the lead-in show on the new Sunday night on the WB network, its first primetime show on only its second night.
That was
We were
cool.
we thought, we simultaneously, I felt that that's a lot of responsibility for a cartoon show against,
Yeah, 60 minutes.
a juggernaut, a champion for 30
Yeah.
years in that slot. But on the other hand, you kind of went, wow,
Oh, it was great.
we're the,
Yeah.
we're-
It was really cool that the network had the confidence in that show. Certainly doesn't help having Mr. Spielberg's name above the title
Yeah.
card, But it was a great show. I mean, the proof is in the pudding here. We're
I'm
20
very
years
proud of
later.
those half hours, those
Yeah, man.
primetime half hours. The animation's a little more lush, which I drew every cell myself.
Yeah.
No, tremendous team on the show, of course, but I mean the animation is a little more precise and textured, and the writing was a little more adult. I think we even had a dam in there. I think Brain said,
No shit.
I believe so. Fucking right, Pinky.
Can I just tell you, and one of the things that we get more than anything is people just love to hear Pinky and the Brain swear. I don't know what that is.
Except for the Christians.
Yeah.
Yes. So there we go. We must respect them.
All right.
So yeah, we were just thrilled. It was a tremendous thing.
Thank you for
Thank you.
watching.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Good afternoon, future overlords. I wish to go.
When we take over, you shall get a very important job. You know how to suck up to a world leader.
Unfortunately, I will have to risk that because I wish to go from one spin-off to another. I wish to know who decided that Elmira was to join you. And Pinky, if you or Brain do not give a good answer, Brain shall have to hurt you.
Oh, dear.
Well, actually, it was Pinky's idea. He said, we need somebody stupider than me on the show. I don't know where that came from. It was an interesting experiment, but I think it had the net effect of, I said it jokingly, but it nullified the Pinky, Pinky was now not the catalyst for all the tension. We had a stupider character than Pinky and a more annoying character than Pinky, which put Pinky in the position of being Larry Fine.
Yeah.
He was suddenly the Larry. He was, say, hey, leave the kid alone.
Hey, leave the kid alone. Yeah. So
You know.
kind of did the Pinky and Larry.
And Larry.
And Larry.
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 And it ended up being, Pinky in the Brain and Larry, if I could just backtrack. I don't know how many of you remember that episode where there was this third mouse added. And it was Billy West. It was actually the first thing that he had done since Ren and Stimpy out in Los Angeles when he moved out. And he does the best Larry Fine impression in the world.
Fantastic.
And I think, was it Gordon? I think it was Gordon and
Gordon
Charlie
Bressak,
that wrote
yeah.
that episode. Gordon Bressak and Charlie Howell wrote this episode as almost a protest message to the network because they were bandying about the idea of making it the primetime show, but one of the things the network was saying, and I know I'm telling tales out of school, but whatever, one of the things the network was saying was, well, we need to fill out the cast. There needs to be more than Pinky and the Brain. We need to give them families. We need to give them like other mice that they can talk to. We can't just have a primetime show. It's got to be more like The Simpsons, where there's a whole family of and a town and blah, blah, blah. And so their position was, no, you don't need to do anything to Pinky and the Brain, but just let them be Pinky and the Brain. That's what makes the show. Their banter and their relationship. So it was almost like here's what will happen if you add somebody. So they added Larry Fine or the Larry Mouse. So very well, it was fine, it was funny. But we go on to do Pinky, Elmira, and the Brain, and it actually ended up being that. And that kind of mixed up the chemistry of Pinky and the Brain, I thought.
Yeah. Well, and like everything else, it's a corporate decision. People, it's called show business for a reason. And I presume somebody thought that it was a way to squeeze a little more life out of the characters, whatever. I don't know. I know that Cree Summer, who is Elmira, is a wonderful
Yeah,
actress.
nothing against Creed.
Yeah.
She was terrific, and Elmira was a great character on Tiny Toons.
Tiny Toons, yeah. And I adore her. She is really a gifted and an amazing singer. But yeah, I mean, it was not I didn't think it was a great idea. Certainly, I don't feel like I was in the position either professionally or personally because the character is very personal to me. I would not be in a position to say I'm not going to do the show. I mean, people. It's kind of interesting how folks say, when you do this show, how come you didn't do this character, or why don't you should be on the Tonight Show. Why don't you get on the Tonight Show? It just doesn't work where you call up
Yeah.
and say, my fans have decided that I should be on the Tonight Show. Or call up Mr. Spielberg and say, the character you had me, this isn't going to work, so I'll do the other one, but I'm just not going to do this one.
There you go.
It just doesn't work that way. I'm flattered that people think I have that kind of juice, but I don't.
Yeah, the funny part was the show was tremendous fun to make.
Yeah.
We love Cree, and we got Tim Curry was added to the cast, and Andrea Martin from Second City.
Yeah.
So we really and oh my gosh, from the Go-Go's, Jane.
Oh, Jane Weedland.
Jane Weedland.
Yeah.
Jane Weedland was added to the cast. So we had this. Suddenly the room was fuller than it had been when it was just he and I. So we had to hold in our gas. But we were we had great fun making the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, future overlords.
Thank you, sir.
I'm
Yes.
putting you in charge of food pellets.
Hello, how you doing?
Hi.
I wanted to ask two questions real quick. One, what is your favorite of all of Brain's plots to try and take over the world? What are all the schemes? And the second one, voice director Andrea Romano, she's been a tremendous talent for a lot of people. I was wondering if you could talk about working with her for a bit.
Well, what's your favorite?
For
What's your favorite plan,
my
Brian?
favorite plan was the one where I implanted a subliminal message in every Christmas toy, every brain noodle noggin doll, and almost succeeded in taking over the world. That was my favorite plot, the Christmas special.
I love that show.
That
That's
was
the
a
one at the
great
end
episode.
Where
It
I
won the
give you
primetime
world.
Emmy. We beat The Simpsons that year. It was the first year they'd been beaten. And,
It still makes me
They
cry.
needed a beating. No, I still work for them. I'm not working for Pinky and the Brain anymore. But I'm a Simpsons fan, and of course a Matt Groening fan in general, thanks to Futurama. And but it was that particular episode is my personal favorite, and it was my favorite plot. I guess I like the mind control plots. I also like Bubba Bo Bob Brain. I like anything where we're hypnotizing people.
Do you know the Bubba Bo Bra song?
I am a lab mouse, I escaped from my cage, never had a job, never earned minimum wage. But you will respect me, yes, once my plan is unfurled. You will call me your leader, I'll be king of the world. Now, Pinky, now.
Yeah, with respect to your question about Andrea, I work with Andrea every week now on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. She directs the new Turtles show over at Nickelodeon, and I've had the good fortune of knowing Andrea for 30 plus years. Wow. I've worked with Andrea on Pinky and the Brain, Animaniacs, Hysteria, Tiny Toons. It just goes on and on and on. A lot of stuff, and she's quite excellent. She's
She's the creme de la creme of
Yeah,
voice directors. I
she's-
mean, there's a tremendous amount of them out. I mean, not tremendous amount. It's actually a very select group. But of all of them, and this is not to put anybody deliberately in second place, there's something about Andrea. She's just been doing it so long. The thing that I love about Andrea is that she trusts actors, but she also understands funny as well as any comedian I know. And she really knows how to put you in the direction of the funny. So. She has fun when it's time to have fun, and yet she brooks no BS.
Right.
You know, so
she
a
straightens
great
us out
lady.
when she needs to, and you know, she's kind of cool because she has so many Emmys that she dresses them in Barbie clothes. That's when you know you've really made it. When you have so many awards that you got to find, Skipper Barbie clothes or whatever for the big.
Hey, that's a good line.
Hey,
I like that.
you like that?
Hey, she got so many Emmys that she dresses them in Barbie clothes. Hey, I'm gonna steal that. Is that all right?
Hey, that's wonderful.
Nothing you can do to stop me. I'm
Thank
dead.
you, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
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 Okay, so this is a question for Brain, actually.
Yes.
If you could replace Pinky with any of Rob's other voices as a sidekick, which one would you do? And can you do an exchange with that?
Well, I think probably Carl Weezer would be the funniest. Carl, are you pondering what I'm pondering?
Well, I think it's a lot of pressure here. Well, I think so, Brain, but if Susan be Anthony and Ann be Davis, then who be Arthur?
You see? Just as stupid, but twice as annoying.
Yes!
And it takes longer to get there. Which makes it funnier.
That's a great question, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. Excellent.
Hi. Okay, I have a question and a request for Rob. So the question is, in regards to Pinky and the Brain, what was your favorite aspect of voice acting for the show and seeing it get done? Like, what did you enjoy seeing the most out of it?
I'm sorry. Enjoy seeing the most out of in terms of guest voice actors.
In terms of seeing your characters with your voice in the show and just seeing where the show went, the success with it.
Oh, well, I situations like this, I mean, it really is impossible to quantify. When you're able to work with somebody whom you would choose to spend your free time with, a dear friend, and get paid.
Gee, your house smells terrific, Brain.
But no, when you get a chance to work with your personal friends, people whom you would choose to have in your life, right? And you get paid pretty well. And then we often get a chance to go around North America and often the world, and this is not unusual, and it's fantastic. I mean, the only downside is that we're not doing any more of them. But thanks to you, and the fact that you haven't forgotten about us, and frankly, thanks to Mr. Ruger and Mr. Spielberg and the people who knew what the hell they were doing, we have a show that I believe is fairly timeless. And if I'm still around in 20 years, I think people will still like it. It's like Rocky and Bullwinkle and Looney Tunes, and smart, does not condescend to the audience, written on a couple different levels. The music was unbelievable. I'm talking about Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain, that whole thing, right? And the characters are beloved, and we love them. So all of it is a joy.
Okay, my request is, could you say "ow, my scapula" in Weezer's voice?
As Carl?
Yeah.
Ow, my scapula.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Can I just say, if that made your life, you got to aim a lot higher, bro.
All right, hi. So
Hi.
this is kind of for the both of you. Working with Tom Ruger and all of the shows that he does, with all the Warner Brothers stuff that he does, what is this huge fascination with breaking the fourth wall almost consistently in every episode?
I don't know. I think, well, that's part of what Tom used. I mean, he had a lot of...
Have you been to Tom's house?
Yeah, he breaks walls
He
all
has
the time.
no fourth
fourth wall.
walls anywhere. Everything opens out onto the street. He
Life
just turns
imitates
and
art.
talks to people as they walk by. Can you believe this?
Could you open it? Well, I think part of what Tom, he surrounds himself with actors and writers who have huge improv backgrounds and stand-up backgrounds. I think he uses that, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, I can't answer for him, but you know, it's a technique that I know. I love when I was a kid. I used to love the George Burns show. When I was a little kid, when George Burns would just turn to the
Just look in the camera.
It's all right. I don't have to eat that. I'm the producer. You know, I love that. I love
Or Jack
that stuff.
Benny would just stare at the camera, breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? And now Modern Family does that. That's Modern Family's stock and trade, and it's fucking hysterical.
Yeah.
But you also have good, solid actors. And when you look at the people, the writing staff, you have Sherry Stoner, Deanna Oliver, Peter Hastings, Paul Rugg, John McCann, all of whom were huge improv guys. And then you have the actors like you know, Welker and Maurice are stand-up guys. Billy West is a stand-up guy. I'm a musician that did improv. Tress was in the A group in the Groundlings. Her peers were, you know, Phil Hartman and Pee Wee.
John Lovitz.
John Lovitz and
Well.
right. So all of those actors. It doesn't surprise me that that's happened. It's a really interesting observation. But when you brought it up, that kind of makes sense to me. And now Maurice is working with Tom on a new show for Disney, and a lot of that same group.
The 7D.
Yeah.
It's going to be on all the Disney channels, the different platforms. And it started out as a show just for little kids, but with Tom and Sherry and Paul Rugg and John McCann.
And Randy's writing the music. Right?
Yeah, with them on board, there had to be a slightly adult sensibility, or at least a tween sensibility. So now it's going across the platforms. And yes, the characters do speak, you know, do break down the fourth wall. We have like, it's sort of like an interview segment. You know, the adventure takes place, and then we cut to, you know, Grumpy sitting on a couch talking to a camera about, well, we thought that when, you know, the villains were trying to do this, but we're trying to do that. Meanwhile, Happy's a pain in the ass. You know, so it's more of that third wall stuff, but it's brilliant. It's done brilliantly. Fourth wall, sorry.
And one last thing, kind of on a more serious note, a lot of people are saying that with the turnover of a new generation of animation, that the writing has become less intelligent, and there's, you know, this less of this wit and more of this kind of humor that comes out of nowhere and you don't really see it.
You mean random?
Yes, very random.
That new thing called random? Here's something random. I hate random.
Do you think that it is that way, that it's very just straightforward random and they're just trying to get the humor just, you know, pulped out of it? Or do you think that, you know, there's something unseen that we might see, you know, later on where people are going to be, you know, in their 20s and say in their childhood back in 2010, they say, oh man, there was something there?
I I understand what you're talking about, and I work on every now and then on shows, especially on like Cartoon Network or Adult Swim or sometimes that are interesting and fun, but as an audience member, I will watch them, and I don't know if it's because I'm old or if it's because I'm used to really solid scripts by guys like Mike Reese is here this weekend. He's a freaking genius, right? And Moog has had a chance to work with him on Futurama and The Simpsons and all the people with whom we've got to work. They're great storytellers. They're great, you know.
Yeah.
And so I look at it and I watch it, and it does. It seems so. I don't know where this comes from. I don't. Now I'm hip enough to get a joke that's slapstick or funny for the sake of the joke, but as a performer and as an audience member, like, let me very quickly. On my podcast, I had Phil Lamar as a guest more than once, and Phil is he's fantastic. Absolutely. And Phil is a phenomenal actor, an incredibly bright man, and a delightful guy. And when I was talking to him, I said, who are some of your inspirations? Who are some of your favorite actors? And he mentioned several, one of which was, one of my favorite actors is Bugs Bunny. He didn't say Mel Blanc. He knows that Mel Blanc did it. But what he said was Bugs Bunny, and that was very interesting. And what I think he meant by that is the same thing that I feel about well fleshed out characters like Pinky and the Brain, if I may be so bold. And that is that with Bugs and the other actors like Daffy and Elmer in the context of the episodes, I can see Bugs right now sitting, reading a racing form, drinking a beer in his rabbit hole. And when he comes out and does duck season, wabbit season, duck season, that's a chunk out of his life. And then he's done, and it's out, and he goes back to the rabbit hole, right? There's a beginning and an end, and I believe the hackneyed actor phrase, I believe the organic nature of that character was so solid and clear as a result of Mel Blanc and Chuck Jones and Bob McKimson, the great directors, and Carl Stalling. It all worked so that I believe it. Now, I suspend my disbelief, but I believe what I'm seeing. It doesn't come out of nowhere. And so I didn't mean this to be this long treatise on the philosophy of cartoons.
No, it's much appreciated.
But I hear what you're talking about, and I try not to be an old fuddy-duddy, because I am. I'm getting old. But I love new talent, and I love new things, and I love people carrying on. But I must admit, I prefer being told a story and have a character developed for me. That's what I like. What do you think, Brain?
I think if it's funny, it's funny.
Thank you guys so much for being here.
I'll tell you what, honest to goodness, my theory that to have, and which is mine and what it is too, is that humor is constantly changing. What we see as comedy has changed ever since we began recording it. That guy that goes, "Oh, a wise guy, eh?"
Yeah.
In 1930s films, he was funny then. He's not funny now, But yet somehow or another we still find the Cowardly Lion from the same era to be an endearing and funny character. It's almost like a filtration process, and we add new things to the mix of what's funny, and what doesn't work falls away, and it grows to what we've got now. I think random will go away, but we'll save a kernel of what's at the very center of this thing called random, and that'll stay with humor as we go on. I mean, there always has to be something new, because we won't keep laughing at the same things. When the Pythons came along, nobody was doing what Monty Python did in the 1970s, which was sort of surreal and but also deeply meaningful and satirical. So I think as we move along, in 20 years we'll look back on this and go, well, we retained this from that kind of humor from the 2010s, but now we've got whatever it'll be in 2030 that's funny. Sid Caesar will always be funny to me.
Yeah.
The idea, the concept that something you have to take something normal and then have something go terribly wrong, and have a little twist at the end. That's comedy gold. That'll never go away.
Right.
So that's the comedy's always evolving.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you for your question.
I'm hoping it evolves enough that someday I'll actually be funny.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Or is that devolve? Anyway, hi.
Hi. I would like to say that you guys made my childhood awesome, especially you, Rob, with all the characters that you voiced. But my question is, were there any Pinky and the Brain episodes that you actually didn't like or actually hated?
Oh dear, I can't think of anyone that I didn't like.
I didn't hate. There was one that I objected to, and that was the episode where Brain tried to bring about global warming and melt the polar ice caps so that he could buy all real estate above the 27th floor.
Because everything else would be underwater.
Everything else would be underwater, and I remember objecting strongly in the studio and saying, "This is a plan where people could get hurt." And I don't think Brain. You remember when I was an asshole? Remember what a jerk I was?
He's going, people are going to drown. It was a fucking cartoon.
And yeah, they sort of said, "Don't worry, we'll draw some lifeboats." And the plan won't succeed anyway, and at the end of the episode, Brain gets beaten up worse than he's ever. And it's true, you go through the centrifuge, and we're really we've got crutches at the end of the episode. So they felt that was enough of a comeuppance for Brain, but I felt that it was sort of counter to Brain's character. Every plot he ever came up with was
not meant to be
never meant to hurt anybody. It was always, he always wanted to take over the world in my mind because he could do a better job, he felt. Right. So that's the only episode that I didn't care for, even though Alex Rocco was our guest star on that one, and I loved. He had so many great stories about making The Godfather because he played Mo Green in The Godfather, and just sitting out on the balcony of the studio at the lunch break, and him telling us these great stories about making that film. That made it worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
So that's my only
that you didn't like.
negative note. Yeah.
What about you, Rob? Do you have any?
Honestly, I never had any episode that I didn't like because they were always just joyful. And also part of it is that, Pinky is just he's a really happy little guy, And the whole experience, I can't say it enough. I mean, it was just every time we were going to do another episode, we knew that we were going to go laugh our guts out. I was going to hang with Maurice and other actors like Alex Rocco or Roddy McDowell. My God, the people with whom we were fortunate enough to work, and then you go home and you get
We
a
had
check,
Oscar winners. We had men and women who had won Oscars on our show.
God, it was great, and we made good. Our dear friend Ernie Borgnine, and we did an episode that was a Shakespearean episode with Cary Elwes and
Wesley. We had Wesley on our show, and he became our friend.
We're dear friends.
We hang out with him now.
We were just with him. Was it in Florida? Where
we were in Washington D.C.
In Washington D.C. And Cary is a dear friend to this day, and I remember when he and I went out to dinner one night and got home, and he called the next day about something, and my wife answered the phone, and she said, "Hello." "Oh, hi, Cary." "Oh yeah, he's here somewhere. So how are you?" She has a huge crush on Wesley, right? But he's a delightful guy, and in the same show, Olivia Hussey, who a lot of you may not remember because you're a bit younger, but for my generation, she and Michael York were in the definitive Romeo and Juliet, directed by Franco Zeffirelli, and she was Juliet. And at the time, I think they shot it in 1969, whatever. But so she was probably about my age now, and came into the session, and her skin is like alabaster, and she's stunningly beautiful.
She is.
And I was transfixed, and I said, "I have to tell you, Olivia, I had such a crush on you when I was 11. And she said, "Oh," it's like the first time she'd ever heard it. "Oh, isn't that so sweet?" And so those are the things that all the stuff that we got to do as a result of being on this incredibly great show was nothing but just joy. And this, 20 years later, is like the tastiest gravy
Well, you guys are
in
awesome.
the world that you guys are here kind of asking questions and interested in anything we have to say. It's great. Thank you. Hello.
Hi. First of all, I just have to say you guys made me feel really old because I'm 21 now, and I've watched
cry me a frickin' river.
No, you guys made me feel old because I've watched it since I was like 7.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually have a question for Brain. Since it is like
Hang on, let me get my walker. Get myself up to the microphone. Because I'm not feeling old at all. Yes. go ahead.
Hello, I'm Pinky. Step into life with Depends. Nerve.
Thank God you were wearing the Depends.
But since it is so many years later, what would it be a plan for Brain to take over the world that we have today?
You're rich now. You can hire somebody to do it.
Yes. It would probably involve an iPhone.
Yeah.
Or Google Glass or some other form
However, I
of
can't
modern technology.
I can't speak on Brain's behalf because I do know that were there a vehicle of choice for Pinky and the Brain to do all of their world taking over, it would be it would be sold to us by the following way.
The world-dominating 2014 Lexus RX. Worship Brain.
Brain is the voice of Lexus for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Did all the Lexus promotions. So I am still in your ears, my friend, every day, giving you subliminal messages. Yes.
He is ubiquitous.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
I got 2 questions to ask you. The first one is, if you could say anything to Pinky and the Brain, what would it be?
If we could say anything to them now,
To Pinky and the Brain?
Yeah.
find somebody to hire us to do you again.
Yeah. That's what those things I was going to say.
Yeah.
Get back on the air.
Yeah.
Make a movie. Now that's instructive. Because you know, if they can do Peabody and Sherman, why can't they bring back Pinky and the
Smurfs,
Brain?
right?
Right? Isn't it time for a Pinky and the Brain motion picture?
Transformers, G.I. Joe.
Yeah. Question. Do you?
Tell them who you thought would play us, the humans that you thought might get hired to play us.
Well, I'm not gonna give anybody any ideas. Yeah, no. Peter Dinklage is the Brain. I love him, but no. What an Aaron? Russell Brand is Pinky. There you go.
Peter Dinklage.
I got news for you. I love
Brand.
Peter Dinklage, but if they ever make a Pinky and the Brain movie and he's the Brain, I'm killing him.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing that we have talked. Peter Hastings and Maurice and I have talked many times about this, and stranger things have happened. But as you recall, it took a while for the Pinky and the Brain and Animaniacs DVDs to be released, and I believe that part of that was the fact that they were co-owned by Amblin and Warner Brothers. It was a co-production of the 2 major studios. So that took a while for those to get out. When they did get out, they sold like frickin' hotcakes, man. They were fantastic, and the proof is in the pudding because we've been signing them all weekend. And so certainly the reaction that you guys were just kind enough to give us happens at Comic-Con, wherever we go, about a Pinky and the Brain movie, because it's a great idea. And we see that there is an audience for now 2 Smurfs movies, right? Yeah. And all that stuff. And yeah, right? No offense. And I worked on the show, but I see what you mean.
You know what's interesting though? I mean, Hollywood loves to bring back things from our childhoods and give them to us again, reinvented and retweaked. But the biggest, when the first Transformers movie came out, we didn't know quite what to expect, except it would be, huge. And I took my son, who at the time I think was 11 or 12. I took my son. The biggest applause in the entire thing was when Optimus Prime uttered his first line, and it was Peter Cullen, the original voice from the TV series. Right. And I mean, the place just erupted with yeah! And I audibly heard people behind me saying, they got the original guy, they got the real guy, they got the real Optimus. And so if they ever did make a Pinky and the Brain movie, of course our hope is that they would remember that.
To hire us.
Cast all the celebrities you want around Pinky and the Brain, but Pinky and the Brain, it's a unique chemistry that only we know the formula of. And with it, we will take over the world.
And my second question is, how are you guys enjoying Rick and Morty?
Oh, I like Rick
Love
and
it.
Morty.
Love Rick and Morty. And
I've done 3 episodes. I'm doing another one next week.
Yeah, I did one last week.
Yeah.
Justin Roiland, the co-creator, told us when we first went in. He said, "I grew up watching Pinky and the Brain in my, like I'd sit there in my pajamas, and he was already like drawing and being creative as a kid. And he said, I knew when I grew up I would create a cartoon show, and I knew I wanted to work with you guys." So it's almost like that was a motivation for him to. He said, "I wanted to work with Pinky and the Brain." So he has us on. We're like his sort of guest stars. Du jour whenever he's got an extra part.
Yeah, and plus I got to say things like...
Same with Jess, by the way. He's had
Jess.
Jess in. Jess has done the show several times.
I like it a lot, and I got to say things like, where are my testicles, Summer? That's not something you get to say every day. Because I do know where my testicles are, whether it's summer, winter, spring, or fall. Pretty much. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, buddy. Hi.
Hello. When Brainland is realized, what kind of currency would we use?
Oh, gosh. When Brainland's...
I think we'd use the brainy. Like the
brainy?
It's like the Canadian loony, but Pinky's the loony and I'd be the brainy. And of course, it'd be worth more money than an American dollar, unlike the
Right, and the brainy is like the
Canadian loony.
paper money. The pinky is like the penny. So,
Yes.
So you would say, are you kidding me? Gas is 8 fucking brainies a gallon? Are you kidding me?
It's insane.
Yeah.
And one more question. What would Brain think about the current situation in Russia?
I'd say stop that and make nice.
Thank you.
It's all one world now, run by me, so stop trying to draw those imaginary lines. It's Brain's world.
And I would say, oh, for God's sake, Vlad, put your bloody shirt on.
Hello.
Vladimir
Hi.
Putin, a Bond villain come to life.
So I'm 27. I grew up watching you guys forever. And you were my entire childhood. But of course, back then we didn't have IMDb where you could just go look up who voiced all of your favorite characters. So, all these years later, looking back and realizing that you guys weren't just Pinky and the Brain, and then you were also the Animaniacs and so on and so forth. And imagine my surprise when I'm playing Batman Arkham City. And I'm like, man, that Mr. Freeze is awesome. Who voices that guy?
You will bring me Nora. Or you will die.
So all of these years later, what is it like for you guys to sort of take on characters that were well established when you were Pinky and the Brain, who are now just as old as Pinky and the Brain, if not older, as opposed to playing these original characters that you built from the ground up?
That's a good show. I don't really do much of that, and I think part of it is because I'm not an impressionist. I'm pretty good with dialects, but I never get hired to that I know of to replace or sort of do an updated version of a character. I mean, I did the animated series The Mask, in which I was Jim Carrey's role for a lot less money, but that was a little different because it was a bunch of episodes of what had started out as a 90-minute movie. So but to be able to redo, to be Mr. Freeze or the Joker or something that was established, I don't do that. Maurice can do that because Maurice also does Maurice is now for, is it 25 years for Toucan Sam?
27.
27 years for Fruit Loop cereal.
Follow your nose, it's always nose. Kellogg's Fruit Loop cereal with natural and cherry. And that was a definite sound-alike job. You want to talk about taking over a part that I watched since I was a little kid.
Me too. That was Paul Frees, right?
The original was Paul Frees.
Yeah.
Actually, the very first was Mel Blanc. He did one commercial, and he did it with this kind of voice that he always did. It's
Right.
Oot Frey Oopsley.
Yeah.
that guy. And then the next round of commercials they made, I remember it was, when I was young, it was they wanted to, he became an Englishman.
You sound like Ronald Coleman.
Yeah. So when Paul Frees died in 1987, I had done one commercial with him, and I played this sort of Doc Brown kind of character who said, "Look, Toucan, my bird bot can sniff out fruit flavors just like you." and I had read in the Toucan Sam parts because Paul Frees was sick, so I just played off of myself. It was just something I always did. They remembered that, and so they had me in after Mr. Frees. I don't mean that way it sounded. After Paul Frees had died, and they had me in to read for the character, and it came down to me and another guy, and it was kind of one of those things where this guy Tom Rook went out on a limb, and he did a blind test with the guy from Kellogg's and said, "Never mind names, I'm going to play my guy and your guy." He had me loop the commercial because they'd actually gone with another guy, and he had me loop the commercial and do all the lines. And he said, "Pick the guy that sounds most like Toucan Sam." And the guy, without knowing who he'd picked, said, "Well, that's my guy." That guy said, "No, that's my guy." So I ended up getting the job off of that, and I've done it for 27 years. And thank God. I mean, it's just nice to know for 27 years you've had a job.
But that's the difference, though. Is Maurice and several other actors have that ability. Billy can do that. There are several other guys who can. Jim Cummings. Jim Cummings is Winnie the Pooh and Tigger. And the Tasmanian Devil. I don't have that ability.
But that's good because that means everything you do is original and not derivative. You bring your Rob Paulson-ness to absolutely everything there is, and I think that's great.
But I mean, it's not. I'm good at my job, but there are a few people in town, and that's why when there are people like Maurice and Frank Welker and Jimmy Cummings and Billy and DiMaggio and Jeff Bennett, people who can really do kick-ass impressions, I don't even bother. I don't even get close to reading. As a matter of fact, years ago, when Wayne Allwine was unfortunately very ill, but just before he passed away, he called me and said, and this is germane to your question. This is a good example of that. He called me and we were very dear friends, and he said, "Robbie, I'm really starting to fade, and they're looking to replace me and come up with a new Mickey Mouse, which of course is probably the most famous single cartoon character ever in history, right? And it's the franchise, baby, right?" So, and I said, "Wayne, I am flattered that you would even bring that up and say, hey, I'll give you a plug to the folks at Disney Character Voices, for whom we all work a lot, but I wouldn't even waste their time. I wasn't even in the same area code as Wayne. Now there are 2 or 3 guys. Nolan North is spectacular. A couple of guys. So part of being a pro is also knowing I'm a big golf nut, and it's not too dissimilar to that for me. I'm good enough to know what I'm not good at, and so I know where my wheelhouse is. I play to my strengths. I love to go outside my own little box, but when it comes to beloved franchise characters, unless it's so in my wheelhouse that I can do it falling off a log, I won't even bother because there are guys like this asshole around.
But I won't do sound-alike work on a character if the person's already living. I mean, if the person is still living. I'll only do it if the person has passed away or
right.
In the case of Don Adams, where he retired and gave his blessing directly to me and said to the people at Deke Enterprises, "Have Mo do Inspector Gadget. He does me better than I do now." He had a bad fall and he'd broken his hip and he just was losing strength. But I was offered, just to give you on the sound-alike thing, I was offered pretty much on a silver platter the part of the Red M&M. And John Lovitz was renegotiating, and he was the original Red M&M. And they had seen me on Entertainment Tonight doing John Lovitz in a segment on The Critic, and I turned it down. And I said, "No, I can't do that because he's all he's doing is trying to improve his position." And I walked away from the part. So I have certain standards that lines I won't cross.
Absolutely, none of us.
I'll do it for the sake of parody, but I won't do it to take food out of somebody's mouth.
Right, none of us. Thank you. Yeah, none of us. who are worth our salt, and we're all pretty good friends. Even if we don't hang every day, we all know each other pretty well and respect each other's talent. We know how tough it is to get these jobs. So if somebody's trying to renegotiate a deal for a gig, and we get a call saying, "Hey, can you do, can you do Slimer?" I guess I can, not very well, but hang on a second. So I call Frank, and I say, "Hey, Frank, it's Rob. Oh, well, we're in negotiations." I'm not going to touch it. Right. You're trying to make a couple extra dollars. You created it. Your negotiations. I'm not going to undercut you. We never do that. And folks that do are ostracized pretty quickly because it's just not right. Right? Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys.
Hey, man.
Yeah, I went to the show Friday, and if you guys haven't, it was amazing. And
Thank you.
You guys are going to be uploading that to YouTube. And whenever it gets uploaded, I was going to go and take the audio, and I wanted to try to actually piece the Matrix scenes with the audio.
Dude, you got way too much time on your hands.
Yeah.
But either that or it's going to be a work of staggering genius.
Yes.
But I wanted to get it
that,
done.
yes.
Yeah, I wanted to get it done. I was wondering, like, where would I post it so you guys could watch it when it's done?
Post it on YouTube. It'll get around. And for those, you know what you can do? And for those of others of you who are interested, Maurice and I are both on Twitter. And Maurice's handle is @MauriceLaMarche, all in caps, right?
Yeah, and no space.
Yeah, my Twitter handle is @YakoPinky, all small letters, @YakoPinky. So when you do that, let us know. Send us the link on our Twitter
absolutely.
feeds.
We follow
All right.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Follow us.
Yep.
Yeah, all of you follow us.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter.
We want more followers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you're all going to be following him anyway in Brainland.
Yes, my friend.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, buddy.
I should just create a Twitter handle called @the world-dominating brain and have 6 billion followers all at once.
By the way, if I can do a shameless plug too, and for those of you who already know, give me please indulge me. But there are many of you who are voice actors or live action actors or people who want to explore that, and so. To answer your question in advance, there are 2 places you can go to get information on how we all do what we do and how we did it. One of which is done by the brilliant D. Bradley Baker. He put up a website. Yeah, he is too. He's like Welker Light. He's crazy good.
Yeah, he's amazing.
But he did a great thing. He put together a website, very comprehensive one, called iwanttobeavoiceactor.com. All right, so go check that out. And if you would be so kind, I have a podcast that I've been doing for several years on which Maurice has been a guest. Thank you. It's completely free, and you will love it. If you like what we do, then everybody who has ever been anybody on this show, and there will be more coming, will be on it. But I've done 110 of them or so, thank you. And it's called Talkin' Tunes, TALKIN 'TOONS, right? Talkin' Tunes with Rob Paulson. It's available on iTunes, or I have a Talkin' Tunes app for Android and Apple. It's free. Great information from people who do it in real time. So you're not going to get stuff from somebody who says, yeah, I was on Who's Cooking the Soup in the late 80s, and that's how I did it. These people are the best of the best in the world, and they do it every day. So you get great information, and it's really funny.
You know what we should do on
It's
the
really
way?
funny.
We should do on the way home on the plane. You and I should pound out a sitcom actually called "Who's Cooking the Soup."
Who's Cooking the Soup?
Because that's been Rob Paulson's generic name for like every
Yeah, I stole it
sitcom
from
in the
Tress.
1980s. Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Oh,
stole it
okay.
from Tress.
Well, then the 3 of us should on the flight.
Yeah.
Actually create a show
Who's
called
Cooking the Soup?
"Who's Cooking the
Yeah.
Soup." Yeah.
Yeah, who's cooking the soup?
I love
Who's
that.
spreading the poop? Okay. Good night, everybody. Hi. Thank you for indulging me, but yes.
I just wanted to know, is there a favorite or most memorable line other than catchphrases that you guys have done on Pinky and the Brain?
You mean the most favorable non sequitur response? Are you
No,
are you
just
pondering?
line in general that you had to do, like, this is weird or this is funny.
I think I really liked
Other
the
than
one when you were running for president, and I was the guy general. He said, I have no idea what I'm doing here, or something like that.
Right.
Or, what am I doing here? I really liked the or the one where you said, Pinky, are you part of it? And I said, yes, I am. I love that. Oh, and the hack and sack, hacky sack.
Kicky Hackensack, Kicky Sack,
That
Sock
was-
Factory,
yeah.
Secaucus.
Yeah, Secaucus.
Yeah.
That was Gordon Bresack. What a frickin' genius he wrote. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
yeah.
Do you
God,
have
I'm trying to think of
Oh,
something
I know
outside
one.
the catchphrases.
I know one. It must be inordinately.
It must be inordinately taxing to be such a boob. Sometimes you make my head hurt, Pinky.
Yeah, he says it must be. Now, how beautiful is
Or,
that?
or going through the, when he's on the stilts and he bangs his head with the drum, he goes, "Yes, that is a pain that will linger."
I love that one. The one that it must be, and what a beautiful way, because the line is written in such a great way, because it's condescending in its delivery, and its sentiment, right? So when he says, and even if you say it without the brain, if you say, "God, it must be inordinately taxing being such a boob." I mean, it's just a great line, and then Pinky goes, "You have no idea." I love that. And the truth is, if somebody were to say to me in real life, "It must be
Inordinately taxing.
being such a boob," and I would say, "God, you have no idea." It's really a lousy way to live, right? I love that. Those are good ones. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Hello, nurse.
Hi.
Hi.
What's up? Okay. I have 3 questions. First is for Pinky. The words narf and poi, they're incredibly random. Where did they come from?
Well, the nutshell of that is that there were 2 guys, Tom Minton and Eddie Fitzgerald, who were physically kind of modeled, God bless them. They were the sort of de facto models for Pinky and the Brain. Tom Minton has kind of an interesting stance with his forehead, and he really does look kind of brainy, right? Yeah. And Eddie Fitzgerald has kind of got a rather pronounced maxillar occlusion, which means buck teeth. And so he's kind of, and when he would be doing a presentation or a pitch meeting at Warner Brothers or wherever he was working, he would say, "Okay," and then this guy comes in and the thing, and it blows up, and it's poit, and the thing that's happening out of this lightning bolt, Zord happens, and then "Hey, God, what's that?" That kind of stuff. So these guys from Warner Brothers, and that was not mine. They incorporated those things into Pinky. So I can't take credit for that. Maurice can take complete and utter credit for everything that he's done in the Brain. He created that character. And not only that, Maurice was the choice to do the Brain before they had Pinky. And I was pretty much aware that Maurice, it was a fait accompli that he was going to be the Brain. And then it was just a question of trying to come up with something that would complement what he was done. But Mo is so good, and his legend had preceded himself, so they pretty much had said, "Oh yeah, well, this guy's got to be the Brain. He's just got to be the Brain," So, and it was because he was channeling his inner Orson.
Well, the thing about the Brain was that he was modeled on Tom Minton, and if I'd ever met Tom Minton, I think I never would have become the Brain, because I would have been, because I'm such a mimic, I would have done Tom. And Tom is a kind of guy who talks very much like this, and he could be very intelligent and read the Encyclopedia Britannica. He would never change it. And I would have done that and lost the job, and they would have gone down the line. The reason I think I got it was because I looked at that model sheet and said, "That's Orson Welles." Oh, they drew me an Orson Welles lab mouse. This is my job.
How inspired
This
was
is
that?
I've got this in the bag. So I had confidence, right, going in. I just thought that it was for me.
Yeah.
And
it really was. We
and
didn't
the
know,
truth
but it was.
the truth is, they had drawn Minton,
Yeah.
and they didn't know who was going to play. I disagree with you. They had no idea. Nobody that saw it saw Orson Welles except me. But I only saw Orson Welles because I didn't know Tom Minton.
Right,
Everybody
but-
else behind the glass already said, "Well, this is a Minton lab."
But when you started auditioning and you
Oh no, I was the first and last guy to read for it.
Oh, yeah.
I booked it right there and then.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I opened my mouth, I went, "That's perfect. That's
and
it. That's
was
Brain."
hundreds of auditions for Animaniacs, because Maurice was also one of the good feathers, right?
As far back as I can remember, I
Yeah.
always wanted to be a good feather. I was Squid. Always got beaten up by Pesto.
Yeah, but once they heard, because Mo, for years we knew that Mo knew the entire litany of Orson Welles outtakes, verbatim, backwards, forwards, upside down. So when he went in, and part of his genius is to look at a character and go, oh, I so got this. This is teed up for me. You want to hear something? Here we go. And then you read and they just go, oh, that was easy. Okay, you're hired. Yeah, pretty cool.
I do best whenever if I can see a model sheet, which almost nobody provides you with anymore. If I can see a model sheet, I can kind of formulate what the guy will sound like. Anyway, you had 2 more questions, so we'll do them quickly.
You answered one of them already, like were your characters modeled after anybody, and you already said that. But the third one was, what parts of your characters did you like about them the best? Like, what about their personalities did you like the best?
What part of Brain's personality?
Yeah.
It's a part that I made that I kind of I didn't make it up, but I read between the lines of the scripts they gave me, and I decided that Brain really cares about Pinky. It has to be. If you play hate, the audience is not gonna get on your side. Just as Ralph Cramden really loved Norton. Norton was his best friend. I knew that there was a reason I had this guy around, and it was even though he was adult, he was my biggest supporter, and so I loved him. So I played the love of the Brain, but that's something that I kind of infused the character with.
And I think Brain is as full of shit as a Christmas goose.
No, it's right back at you. It's the Honeymooners. It's Alice and Ralph. It's all of that stuff. It's Archie Bunker and Edith. I love the Brain, and I really did. Part of what I think what made it work is that I really believed that what Brain wanted was for the betterment of all mankind, which is, I think, really succinctly pulled together in the Christmas episode, because he writes, "Dear Santa, my friend the Brain really wants a blah, 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 blah," and then he gives the Brain this little keychain with the globe on it at the end of the world. "Here, Brain, here's the world." Oh my God, every year it just kills me. Aww. That and a couple of vodka cranberries, and it's just... I love you, Brain, I love you. Excuse me, give me another one. Would you hit me again? No, but it really is true, and it's screenwriting 101, it's storytelling 101, it's about relationships. You have to care about the people, even if they're mean and angry. It's one of the great things about shows like Game of Thrones, right? We love those shows. Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful to watch, it's cinematic, it's just stunning, and you care about the bad guys, and you care about, so it's just...
Even the bad guys have good moments.
Right.
But Phil Rosenthal, who created Everybody Loves Raymond, has one rule when he writes: the show has to be about love.
Yeah.
And that's so.
I love you, Brain.
I tolerate you, Pinky.
Thank you.
Thank you, sweetie.
And our last question.
Yes.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. First of all, thank you. I grew up on Pinky and the Brain, and that was family bonding time, and it's wonderful to see that you're lovely people in real life.
Thank you.
In my house, it was family bondage time, which was a totally... And...
Cover your ears, children.
It really gives Crack the Whip a whole new meaning.
Wow.
Anyway, sorry about that. Yes, madam.
So there's this theory floating around.
You just threw up a little in your mouth, didn't you? Oh, I think that's so cute.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh. And this is for both of you and for Pinky and the Brain if you want. But there's this theory floating around that Pinky's the genius and Brain is the insane one, and Pinky just sort of plays dumb to keep Brain from, hurting people or himself. So,
I think she's onto something, Brain.
Not to echo creationists, but that's why they call it a theory. Yes!
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Love you, Atlanta. Thank you.
Narf.